And we are going to start, Joe is going to go first and introduce the author that he worked with.
Okay, yeah, I worked with Rachel, I hope I'm pronounced this correctly, Rachel Bowery Baxter, who is a poet, a writer, and a mom living in South Bend. She has a BA in English writing and English literature from St. Mary's College, and she founded the publication Poetry in Form, a celebration of poetic form. Her first collection of poetry, Mother Scorpion, was released in April of 2020. So Rachel.
Okay, great. My poem is called Crepe Paper Roses. Flicker sprinkler, drops and streams cutting through air, satin with rays of noon. Roses dry and crinkling like crepe paper from an Independence Day picnic several days past. It is the blush face season, the time of bare toes and hot raspberries eaten right off the bush. Everything melts, except for those spirits frozen in time, summer nostalgia at an all-time high. Dry like a rose in need of water, I've seen many Julys. The air is as thick as mud, but slippery it slides through your fingers when you try to hold on too tight.
Great, thank you so much. And next up is I am going to introduce Matthew Michael, who submitted a brief but vivid poem about personal experience. And he studied at Syracuse University's Bird Library and recently has attended classes at Santa Ana College remotely from Nepal, where he teaches as a volunteer. So Michael, if you would like to read your poem for us.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Walking home a tomato, I watched the fireflies float up, blinking in the summer dusk.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Rachel is going to introduce Bill.
All right, so Bill was born and raised here in the South Bend, Mishawaka area. He grew up here, graduated from Marion High School, and also attended IU South Bend, where he earned a bachelor's degree in history in 2019. He has always been fascinated by the river, and this is actually the second submission that he's done for the past 2 years for SJCPL Rights, kind of themed around the river. So we will let Bill read us his poem.
It's called South Bend River Walk. From Sturgeon Lake to Lake Michigan, the St. Joseph River flows as far as it can. It flows all the way from beginning to end, even through the Indiana town of South Bend. The sharp turn on the river provides a name to the city that's home to Notre Dame. IU South Bend marks the beginning of a route along a river that's home of river trout. Behind this Shirts Library across the street, the river walk begins and it can't be beat. To walk on the trail, you go west, not east, and you'll see lovely families of ducks and geese. Across the street from a parking lot with a ramp, Veterans Memorial Park looks like a great place to camp. The river provides benches for taking a break and watching fish make their way to the lake. It flows by the YMCA and the Brick. The farmer's market has many choices to pick. The river flows on, surrounded by trees, and you can hike the trail with relative ease. 2 boathouses lie along the path. Falling out of a boat will feel like a bath. A nearby park is named after a man who was our mayor and our governor, Joe Kernan. Joggers come out at the crack of dawn to jog by Howard Park's wide open lawn. The river literally divides the city in two, but it unites citizens with a fun thing to do. Whitewater rafting can be locally done on the East Race, and it's so much fun. Rafts, helmets, paddles, and life vests cannot prevent rafters from getting wet. South Bend's economy will continue to grow as the St. Joseph River continues to flow. Kayaking and rafting on the East Race have made South Bend a pretty great place.
All right, thank you, Bill. And next up, Samira is going to introduce Kelly's poem.
The author I'm introducing is Kelly Wilson. She grew up here in Elkhart, Indiana, and she spent summers in Michigan, Birch Lake, Michigan. She has hiked through Blue Ridge Mountain, Florida, and she loves to paint birds, gardening, spending time with her grandkids. And the poem that she wrote is Diamonds on the Water. So let her read it for you guys.
Great, thank you. Okay, mine's called Diamonds on the Water. Diamonds on the water, what a lovely sight to see. Diamonds on the water flicker and flash before me. They bring back memories of Birch Lake summer glimmer, now new adventures of paddling the glistening curves of the St. Joe River. Shimmer, shine, and sparkle, sunlight dancing over the water. A gift from God, I behold nature's beauty as I wander. I kayak past bridges, parks, inlets, and rocky stairs. Floating slow, I spy turtles and ducks and feel the gentle breeze in my hair. Great blue herons take flight on the river green. Swallows swoop and chirp as I pass underneath. Fishermen on the riverbank throwing out their line. The dam is just ahead. Pull hard, use all my might. I turn around and float downstream. People watch from the shore, wishing they were me. The sun is lowering, now a golden fireball in the sky. Families enjoy picnics, children playing nearby. The current moves in its silent flow. It gently carries me as I relax in the evening glow. Diamonds on the water, what a lovely sight to see. Diamonds on the water, flicker and flash for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kelly. Then we're actually going to move on to our narrative nonfiction. And the narrative nonfiction that we'll be introducing today is actually by one of our editors, Joe Sippets. And some of you might know Joe from his storytelling series, Saturday Night Stories, and what a natural storyteller he is. So we were really pleased to hear from him and have him submit his own narrative piece about South Bend. And Joe is the manager at the River Park branch as well. So he's one of, we're proud to have him in SJCPL. Go ahead, Joe.
Thanks. It was very late in the evening when my friends and I noticed Nome Park. We were packed in a cream-colored Tornado, driving east on Mishawaka Avenue, going from one bar to another. A female voice shrieked from the back, "It looks like gnomes live there. Stop, stop." My friend Dan was driving as he usually did, and he pulled over to a side street. We all piled out of the car and shot across the road to the park. Giddy, we ran up and down the stone-lined pathways, past the gnome's house, and down the stone stairways. After a quick reconnoiter to search for the gnomes, of course, we settled down by the bank to drink a few beverages that were legal for some of us and hung out by the slow-moving river. We were down the hill so we could hang out unobserved. Perfect. Nome Park became a favorite destination. We found the park up topside absolutely suitable for hide and seek. In the park, there was a large Civil War memorial that isn't especially legible in the dark, and a great grand band shell. Mostly, we spent our time down by the river. Battelle Park, I later discovered, has been a park forever. Workers built the distinctive rock gardens, pathways, and walls in the 1930s as part of the Works Project Administration as a make work project during the Great Depression. Thank you, WPA. Make work has a negative connotation, but this, to me, was essential infrastructure spending. It was and is such a joyful park. The Gnome's house hides a pump for the water feature. The stonework is distinctive and extensive. It is listed on the National Register. According to the signage, the park closed at dark, but no one ever bothered us there. In fact, we kind of felt like it was our place to gather. We were old enough to not worry about parental curfew, but young enough to not have our own houses to hang out in. Nome Park was our park. We weren't always alone, but we could occasionally see couples walking down together down the stone steps. We didn't usually acknowledge them and they ignored us, so we were happy to share our secret world. Down by the river, there was a bit more bank than there is now. We had room for a group of 4 to 6 friends. Across the river, it was blank. I was thinking that the remains of the ball band factory were over there, but now I see it was Cam's Island Park. There was nothing ever happening there either. It could have been the dark side of the moon for all I cared. Our spot was dark, dark for dark business, we thought. The elegant stone walks, stairs, the walls by the lazy flowing river felt perfect. The night sky in the city was usually starless, and we felt like we were miles away from civilization. We made small talk and small friends. We once stayed up past 2 a.m. to watch a lunar eclipse in the park. My friend Kevin was an Eagle Scout, so he would often build a small campfire. A modest fire by the river on a warm evening was perfect setting for storytelling. Kevin was a poet, and his works were long and atmospheric, with a contemplative Tolkien feel. We all loved them. I usually told my stock of preteen jokes. Ask me sometime about the secret toilet, the singing toilet, sorry. Kevin's hero in his poems was Sub-I, a idealized subconscious self, or maybe it was SUB-I. This was storytelling in the ancient oral tradition after all. In one story, Sub-I finds that his girlfriend is pregnant with twins. One, he said, he'd have to leave the country. Two, he definitely had to go off planet. In those days, we had time, but no money. It was common for us to share an 8-pack of Little Kings between 5 friends. Who got the spares? Dan was always one and done, perfect designated driver. We had a secret word, Rosebud, in case the conversation got too serious. We were young and idealistic, so of course it sometimes did. We had our small circle of friends. Once we found careers, spouses, and our kids, we stopped going to Nome Park together. I still love Battelle Park and the stone steps to the river. I even go there with my kids from time to time. It's part of a wonderfully extensive series of walks alongside the river that gives our city its name, and it's often busy with joggers. I still think of the park as being as mystical as Stonehenge. We never found the gnomes, but as far as I'm concerned, they're still hiding there. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. So go ahead, Vicente, and go ahead and introduce the poem and then go ahead and read it.
Okay, so can you hear me very well?
Yes.
Okay. So Alison and Carlos wrote this poem. It's about San Joseph River and about Carlos. It's has a background countries are Argentina and Bolivia. He lived 12 years in Argentina and 18 years in Bolivia. And he's living now 6 years here in Indiana and South Bend. So he said he's still exploring US and he tried to learn English every day. And Allison is his wife. So she's originally from Michigan and she has always loved poetry from a very young age. So she loves painting, singing, dancing, gardening, and bird watching. So they both together wrote this poem that is about the river. I can read in Spanish and then a little bit in English. So the name of the poem is En mi ciudad. Vivo en una ciudad y entre todo corre un río de bella inmensidad. En mi ciudad hay muchos sonidos, ambulancias y conciertos. Hay trenes y buses que vienen y van, que vienen y van. En mi ciudad hay muchos caminos, carreteras y senderos. Hay bicicletas y aviones que vienen y van, que vienen y van. En mi ciudad hay muchas palabras, bicicletas y tiendas. Hay mercados y escuelas que vienen y van, que vienen y van. En mi ciudad hay muchos colores, parques y puentes. Hay flores y fuentes que vienen y van, que vienen y van. En mi ciudad hay muchos lugares, casas y hogares. Hay personas y animales que vienen y van, que vienen y van. Y entre todos y todas, entre todo y la nada, corre un río de bella inmensidad, que viene y que va, que viene y que va. So that's the Spanish part. Now it's in English. In my city. I live in a city, and through it all runs a river of boundless beauty. In my city, there are many sounds, ambulance and concert. There are trains and buses that come and go, come and go. In my city, there are many paths, highways and trails. There are bicycles and airplanes that come and go, come and go. In my city, there are many words, libraries and storefronts. There are markets and schools that come and go, come and go. In my city, there are many colors, parks and bridges. There are flowers and fountains that come and go, come and go. In my city, there are many places, houses and homes. There are people and animals that come and go, come and go. And through it all, surrounded us all, in between nothing and everything, runs the river of boundless beauty that comes and goes, comes and goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicente. That was very beautiful. That means we have one author who wasn't able to make it today. Darla, would you mind talking just a little bit about the author that you worked with and that piece?
Yes, so my author is named John DiTio, and he works at the junior high at Good Shepherd Montessori School, where he leads students in service and citizen science on the St. Joseph River watershed. He said that he loves to canoe with his wife and two young children, and that he turns 36 in October. And his piece is called Naming Elements, which is a really beautiful narrative that he created. Do you want me to read a short excerpt from it, Kara?
Sure, you can read like one paragraph.
Yes, it is. I encourage you all to check it out on the online publication. It's a very long piece, but it's very evocative of South Bend. Let's see. It is hard to say when I first took note of the water running next to Angela Boulevard. Driving around the roundabout, I was usually on the lookout for things like strollers and Mack trucks to avoid. Riding my bike, my focus was on the gravel bar around the bend where I would sit and watch the osprey. From the river, the trickle is hard not to miss, because two bridges there in quick succession draw your attention and make you choose between paddling for the V's of the eddies or ending up among the cottonwoods that drifted into the piers at high water and stuck.
Great, thank you.
And that's just the third paragraph. You're welcome.
Yeah. We have one artist also who submitted, we published 2 of her photos. So she was not able to be here today, but I am going to share my screen so that I can show you everyone the website here. This is the main page of the website, and if you go to issues and down to local natural environment, you can see all of the poems and pieces and work that was submitted. And here we have one of the photographs submitted by Julie C. And this is the bridge here. And her piece is called Cool Down After Jog. And Julie is another SJCPL staff member who works at the Francis branch, and she has canoed the river 5 times and is very much into gardening and in nature itself. So her I will stop sharing. Stop sharing now. And I will just say also that her other photograph that she took is going to be the cover page of SJCPL Writes, the print version. We will have a limited print release, which will be available at your branch. So remember to either reach out to your editor or your or SJCPL Writes email to let us know what your home branch is, because we want to have all of the print versions at the author's home branches.